What is going on? Jasan Julius here, and I am the host of the newly released The Julius Files. And yes, this is our, let's call this our trailer, our first actual podcast. And I've been trying to put this together for a good long time. And I started doing a little bit of research, and I had a good idea of what I wanted this podcast to be about. And then I started thinking about the intro itself, and it was, well, what is entrepreneurship supposed to be about? To which then led to, well, what is life supposed to be about? The meaning of life. And the point is, I started thinking about what should this podcast be, and then I thought, well, wait a minute, this is my podcast. It can be whatever the I want it to be. So I have a setup that I really want to put out there. And generally, we will be putting out a podcast once a week where I interview small business entrepreneurs. Ideally, I'm going to be trying to find people that are 5, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years in. But the point is, I see a lot of glamorization with entrepreneurship. And I am a very proud entrepreneur. But the reality is, just like the intro says, entrepreneurship is 50% pain. And I want to make sure that the information that I'm putting out there is a lot more about eyes wide open, that if you're going to get into entrepreneurship, you at least need some people out there, myself included, that are willing to tell you about the actual pains of entrepreneurship and the sacrifices that you're actually going to make if you're going to choose entrepreneurship. And that said, it all comes back to mindset. So I think that applies in life in general. So when I start actually putting all of this together, it will be a lot more of I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I think that I can do a little bit of Q&A, and I'm not going to tell you that I have the answers, but I do have perspective. So I think that we will be working along episodes of Q&P. And then as we were sitting here kind of fucking around, we started talking about Freaky Fridays. And when we were doing that, we started actually thinking, okay, well, this isn't something that I should do myself, because I do have a team, an inner circle, if you will. And I thought, well, I will enlist them to help actually produce and put these podcasts together, because they all have their own personalities. And I figured bringing their personalities to the table was a good way to add a little bit of color, maybe a little bit of different perspective, maybe a little bit of, levity, maybe. We'll find out as we roll through these different personalities. But I have 4 other people that I would like to introduce, because they do all handle their own piece of the business, and they do all bring their own personalities to the table. So for this introduction or first podcast, I wanted to introduce those personalities and maybe see how they all come together. So I'm going to go around the table, because I'm going to save one of the best for last, because she's been with me enduring that 50% pain for quite a little while. But any which way, I'm going to start by introducing Trish. Trish is our resident researcher, handler, better known as the demi-galactic semi-goddess. Would that be?
That's a whole fucked up title you just gave me. So
yeah, I get
galactic demi-goddess.
Galactic demi-goddess.
In marketing and research development.
There you go. Okay, you got to get a little closer to the mic. I get it. But yes, feel free to correct me. I am known to be wrong from time to time, but at this point, I'm a little more right than I am wrong. But by all means, feel free to chime in there.
Yeah, so I've been with Jasan for about 7 months. I handle all of his social media platforms, the ins and outs of some of the other things. Basically, whatever he wants me to do, that's what I do.
But you got to admit, because look, I've known Trish for 7 years. This chick was actually handling my account for a distributor, and I found out by another individual that will be a part of this that Trish decided to say and she quit her job at a moment's notice. And the first thing out of my mouth was, "Do you have her cell phone number? tell her not to accept a job anywhere else, I am willing to hire her. So I have to be honest and say, I'm the guy that I will hire you for a job, and then I will find out, one, what are your interests? Two, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to apply that to some other things? So I do want to say, Trish, did you, when you came in and took this quote unquote position, did you imagine all of the things that you would have been jumping into in the last 7 months?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
I was stagnant for 7 years. So after I left my last position, I came here with no idea what I was going to do for you. I had no idea what I was going to do in general because I quit my job because I was tired of being disrespected. And when Matt called, he was like, so you don't work there anymore? And I'm like, no. And he's like, what? He's like, all right then. So the next thing I know, I am at B-Dubs talking to you people. And then I was like, all right, well. He was like, I'm not going to, interview you for a job. I'm just going to tell you that, like, if you want to work for us, then come here. And I was like, all right, here I am. So I had no idea what I was going to do, but I've learned so much in 7 months. It's amazing. And I'm just really glad to be here because I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. And
that is part of that mindset. You are right where you are supposed to be, and how you look at life and what lens you view life through really dictates the quality of life you live, the every minute of every day. And I knew that not only was Trish really good at building relationships, that she would bring a certain perspective to the team that would be very well appreciated. Okay, so we're going to stick it going around the table. So I want to introduce somebody else to you. And what was it? It was Dawn, the bougie blonde. That's how we talked about introducing her. I've actually technically known Dawn longer than anybody else because Dawn was conning me into to advertising in my early years.
I was conning. That was my title.
What was that?
Con artist.
Con artist.
Apparently.
Okay, no. We'll stick with bougie blonde. I'm totally fine with
I'm
it.
a con artist too.
I mean,
good to know.
But you're yeah, exactly. Welcome, but you're on my team, so that's okay.
Quickly.
When she comes to talk to you, it's fine.
Yeah, right.
So I brought Dawn on to actually handle a lot of our PR in the Kokomo community, as I knew that I would be spending more time away from the Kokomo community as we started moving towards franchising the Coffee Junkies and Pizza Junkies brands. But as she came in, and yet we started her on her learning journey, it quickly translated into utilizing her photography background, which led into videography. And here, as of late, that we get to the bougie part, I've got some real estate that I'm looking at turning into an Airbnb, and she's also quite the interior decorator. And she, if there's a place that we actually click pretty well, it's that she can close her eyes and see a vision and start going out and putting the pieces together to actually pull that vision together and actually bring it to life. So, Dawn, do you have a couple words for us?
I mean, I don't know where to start with all that. I mean, you did say though when I came on to work for you that I'd be wearing a lot of hats. I didn't know how many. I mean,
hey,
a lot.
But you're not going to call me a liar. I mean, that's
I really thought that was just. Yeah, I guess I didn't pay enough attention to that.
Metaphorical that you thought, I'll just kind of put, okay, it doesn't work that way.
Wearing lots of hats, which is great, I guess. As long as they're fashionable hats, I mean.
And here's where the bougie comes in. Okay.
Oh, come on now. So, but no, I've enjoyed my time and getting to know everybody else as well. And I mean, I have mad respect for you. I have for a long time. Obviously, that's why I came to work for you. So that's it on my end.
Well, and don't get me wrong. Like I've told them all, it's change is inevitable. So if you embrace change, you have a way to help form that change to what you would like to see become. If you do not embrace change, It happens without you, and likely the people that are forging that change are seeing who is willing to participate and who you're making a point that that change is going to happen. And if you don't participate, you're probably not going to like the outcome because you didn't have anything to do anything with it. So I am a big proponent of embracing change because I saw that it was inevitable a long time ago. And I prep anybody that comes to work with me regularly to understand and realize change is going to happen. Be flexible, be malleable, and go with it, because the quicker you understand that life is not fair and change is inevitable, the higher quality of mental health you will have. So with that, I will move on to one of my next co-hosts, and and I talked about how I was going to introduce him. I'm not really going to go there because I very quickly understood that there's a lot of people. Now. No, oh, you want me to go with it? Okay, hey, I will go with it. So we can. I mean, because one, don't get me wrong, Matt is very proud of his last name. We mess with him. He's the Bradshaw, Matt Bradshaw. But I said I wanted to describe Matt as Master Blaster because he's as big as Blaster and as smart as Master. But the reality is, Matt, much like myself, is never really short on words, and he's a consummate planner and researcher. And the reality is, this guy came in and he hired on as a pizza delivery driver, believe it or not. But he was probably the first pizza delivery driver that ever became aware of my brand, then drove 50 minutes to an open location to try out the product to decide whether he wanted to work for me. And he actually tried the product, which brought him back to the store we were getting ready to open. And that's how he actually found his way into my journey and into the Coffee Junkies and Pizza Junkies picture. But the reality is, Matt told me pretty much within the first couple weeks that he envisioned himself as the chief technology officer. And in the last 4 years, he still wears many hats, right down to delivering the occasional pizza. But he has very much worked himself into the chief technology officer, as he's actually the one that did the research along with one of our consultants and did all the purchasing and setting up this fine podcast. So, Matt, would you like to add a couple words?
So if it doesn't go well, it's probably my fault. It's definitely going to be my blame. Yeah, he was on handwritten tickets. That just wasn't going to work.
Hey, but let's clarify here, because I'm not. That's exactly. I'm not doing $1 million a year on handwritten tickets. Let's be clear. I was achieving a level of success
on handwritten tickets. He was very successful on handwritten tickets. So I just knew I had capabilities that were able to help him. The part he left out there is he had a sign on the Indianapolis store for like a year and a half that they were coming soon.
Yeah, but there's such a story to that too.
We'll get to that on a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, we will. But I do want to touch, because look, I would say that in Kokomo, I'm at least a fish in Kokomo. I'm not. I would say I'm not a minnow. I'm at least a fish. But when I jumped ponds to Indianapolis, Marion County went out of their way to let me know that I ain't shit, and they held up my permits for over a year before they actually started letting me get started. And yes, Matt observed while working for another company that banner was up for quite a long time before he saw movement on the operation. But again, I'm determined, and I did get it across the finish line. I just had to find another way around the bend, per se.
Well, much like Trish, I had a day where got tired of being disrespected at my previous employer, so put in my notice, coincidentally, so he would be short-staffed on Super Bowl Sunday. And when I walked out, pulled up Facebook, and there was an ad, and this place was finally opening. So drove up to Kokomo and tried some good food.
I am a big believer in, you can talk about coincidence, but I just think everything happens for a reason, and I've long known that that timing is such a big thing. You come across somebody and you're that whole, it was meant to be, it was meant to happen that way. Okay, that's where I said there's not really. One of my mentors is a big believer that there are no coincidences, that it's a mathematical equation, and I believe that there is, everything happens for a reason, and timing is just such a huge piece of it. And the reality is, I don't know if I had done anything any different, if I had started anything any other way, if this group would have come together the way it did, because a lot of the comings together was a lot about timing in general.
I agree.
Yeah. Timing in general, in life, in everything. And that's where, you speaking of that. So, I mean, like, I lived a life of, I realized early on what the definition of patience was, and I was like, fuck that. I don't want to have patience at all. And then as I was coming through this year itself, I read an in particular book and was going through, I mean, unbeknownst to me, was almost like a spiritual awakening, and it almost brought me to tears when I realized that, you know what, as much as I hated the word patience, that in certain ways I had been exercising patience to the point that I understood the necessity for patience sometimes. I'm leaving it at sometimes, because generally patience, the willingness to tolerate delay and endure pain while in toleration of delay, is that I don't really subscribe to that, but from time to time, you kind of got to let things come to you. And that does require a little bit of patience, because people will describe, well, what's pain? I mean, pain could be anxiety. I mean, pain can be a lot of things. So I do have to say that that I fall in that middle of the road of, I don't subscribe to patience, but I understand that it is necessary from time to time, and it has been that patience, if you will, that has allowed this group to come together as a whole. Even in the midst of the personality challenges, patience is sometimes necessary to allow gelling to occur inside of a group.
Why did he look at you?
I don't know.
Honestly, I looked at all of you.
I'm a con artist, and now he's looking at me like I'm in trouble.
Quit. You're being bougie.
Hey, don't get me started.
Oh, okay. Okay, so now we are going to go to this woman. I gotta give it up to her. I mean, because I'm not going to deny. Like, I know that I'm a good person. I know I'm a good person just because it's like really important to me that no matter what I do, I need to be able to look at myself in the mirror and live with myself and sleep with myself. But I know I'm a handful. I am capable of radiating my energy and my anxiety. When I get in those modes, I know that I can be pretty intense. And this woman bet on me a decade ago. And through good and bad, thick and thin, highs and lows, even to the points when she's wanted to shoot me, she's actually stuck beside me. And her husband came up with a name for her a long time ago, and it's kind of an agitation. But the point being, she's giving me that look. What the point is that the Rebecca, and I look at that and I see it as a good thing, because I see others out there, and anytime, Rebecca is a very specific name. Like, it's one of those names that stands out. So when I meet others, it is an automatic comparison to you, because I think so highly of you, and I know that I give you a hard time about it, but you have been a solid piece of my life and the business, and you've endured a lot of drama, sometimes by my creation, sometimes just by the fact that, you know what, we run generally speaking, a female-led organization, and or at least we are very heavily weighted towards females in the organization, and that does create a certain amount of drama. And honestly, I think that you've probably done better at wading through that drama than I have.
The Tension's getting very thick.
It is. That's
It's coming up in this podcast too.
well. I mean, it is a 3-2. But the thing is I know Matt will quickly jump to their side, so it turns into a 4-1, just because he knows better when it comes to the wrath of females. And I do remember when I was talking to Rebecca about this podcast, she goes, "What? I sent you." I said, I sent you a podcast, and she was like, what, that TikTok thing? I was like, no, it wasn't TikTok. It was a podcast. And she said, no, they're all the same. So that
you either see them or you can't.
Okay, well, podcasts have evolved to the point that they are now starting to actually go pretty heavily on video and audio as a podcast. So I think we will do more to incorporate the video. But the point is, that the audio side of it is what podcasting is known for, as to where TikToks is a lot more about video, and by and large, the vast majority of them just being crazy shit, which when I send you TikToks, it's generally crazy shit. But when I send you podcasts, generally it's a personality that's actually imparting knowledge or bringing somebody on that's capable of being an expert in an in particular industry or knowledge or skill set. So I do very much see a difference between TikTok and podcasts, but those 3 a.m. shares, I can see how you could actually not worry about deciphering the two, albeit some of them are meant to make you laugh and smile, and some of them are meant to make you think. Rebecca, would you like to say hi to our future audience?
Hi, future audience.
Is that all you got for us?
I think so.
You think so? No, by all means, talk. Say what you. The thing is that I'm going to be honest. She's, in a lot of ways, the woman's like my best friend and become my confidant. And when people look at me and I'm like, you know what? Sometimes she's so quiet. It's like she wouldn't say shit if she had a mouthful of it. And I think that might be why she is a confidant, because there's trust. I mean, and trust is a big thing in any relationship. So when I look at it, I'm like, no, well, why do I trust her? Well, because I have been able to say a lot to her. Sometimes it's raw thoughts, and she doesn't hold it against me or make me feel like shit for actually being able to. She allows me to think out loud and sometimes vent and get things off my chest. And from time to time, when I get frustrated that I'm doing 30 minutes worth of talking and she says nothing, I'm like, come on, what do you got? Impart some type of perspective that actually helps me work through my thoughts. So from time to time, she will chime in with some very enlightening observations and thoughts.
I'm available Monday through Friday from 2 to 4.
There it is.
Yep, there we go. That's exactly it. Okay, so we will actually we will wrap up this initial pilot podcast. But I will say that I'm looking to there will be one a week, no two ways about it. In all likelihood, I will be working towards 2 and 3, and I mean, if we're able to get the group together, maybe 4. But the point being, I'm not looking to just do a podcast a week. I'm looking to bring on a teacher that offers their perspective inside of their industry at least once a week. And then beyond that, I would definitely like to get into some Q&A about my entrepreneurial journey and my life's experience, and I'm sure my co-hosts can help out with the questions, whether they be fielding from people online or just their own questions. And then I'm leaving open room for a podcast that can be like current events or whatever fucked up shit we actually end up, topics that we want to talk about, more or less. I'm not afraid to go down rabbit holes. So there could very well be some rabbit holes that we could venture down as we actually get this podcast off the ground. So I am Jasan Julius, host of the Julius Files, and you guys have a good day.